We are live. Awesome. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Don Sprenkel. I am filling in for Todd Schroth today, who's out of town, but we have an awesome episode lined up. We are here with the phenom himself, the Dan Rojas out of downtown Orlando. And we're going to talk a little bit with him about his journey into real estate, a short 2 years, but a lot accomplished in those 2 years. So I'm excited to dive in with him on that. Before we get started, if you're watching this on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, make sure you guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Make sure you like this, share it with other agents that you know. And if you're watching this on YouTube and this is your first time to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the great videos we're putting out on a weekly basis. A lot of good people on here coming on to speak with us. So we're here with Dan. Excited to have you, man. And thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
What's up, brother? Thank you for having me, man. I love you guys, especially you and Todd Schroth. I mean, Todd is the man, and I know he's on vacation right now with the family, and so he couldn't have picked a better host, honestly, than you, man. We talk about you all the time because of all the stuff that you have going on and your success too. So, man, congrats to you as well.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I remember because I've been in doing this now, about 16, 17 months total. And I think you've probably got about 6 or 7 months on me. So, I mean, between the two of us, 2 years maybe. And I remember seeing you, probably about, almost a year ago. You were doing a podcast episode with somebody. And I was like, man, who is this guy? Only not even a year in, and they're interviewing him already. He's already doing that much business and having that much success. I was like, I got to hit this guy up. So I think I just sent you a long text message hey, even if I got to pay you for your time, man, what do I got to do to get in?
I remember that meeting. We met at the downtown office in Inspiration Hall, and we kind of knocked out a few things, man. One of the things I love about you is you take stuff right away and you just execute, man. That's one of the biggest things, and we'll touch on that today, is how much agents don't execute, right? And how much time they have on their hands and how they don't utilize it to their best abilities. And yeah, man, 2 years in, I mean, I'm half a step ahead of you, half a pace, I guess you would say, but you're outpacing me at your growth too. And it just goes to show that there's no secret formula, that you are the secret formula, right? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, and how you and I both got to where we're at, because phenomenally enough, we're not part of the 87% that didn't make it, right? We're part of the 13% that actually pushed through and did it. And most of the fears that people need to overcome is really just their mental stability when it comes to, can I do it or can I not do it, right?
Absolutely, man. We're definitely going to dive into that for sure. But how I like to start off with this, especially with you and everything, is just telling us a little bit about how you got into real estate, your journey into this business and everything.
I love that story, man. My sister-in-law loves when I tell this story, and I have nobody else to thank but other than her. I mean, I got a lot of people to thank, but to get into the industry, it was my sister-in-law, Jillian Silk, and I love her to death, and I thank her for this opportunity every day, day in and day out. And yeah, I was in the hospitality business, and I was managing part of a restaurant group, and I was working a lot of hours just like most people would. And right now, I'm even more thankful, obviously, with what's going on in coronavirus and how the country's kind of handling that business opportunity. I don't know where I'd be realistically, but she had been telling me for quite some time, you got to do real estate. So many people, my sister-in-law, she's a social butterfly. She loves to have people over, loves to entertain, loves to host. And every time she would, throw a holiday party together, I'd go over and she would go to introduce me to somebody. And they would be like, Dan. And of course, Jill's like, oh, one more person I don't have to introduce you to. And she would tell me all the time, you would kill it in real estate. And I was comfortable. I was making a decent salary where I was, and I was having fun with what I was doing. And I had done sales jobs before, right? And this is a sales job at the end of the day. And I had done, I sold Comcast in college at UCF. And I was actually telling the story today that I would pick, I wouldn't pick the middle class or the high class neighborhoods. I would pick the low class neighborhoods because my colleagues would never pick it, right? And they were like, "We're not going there." And I'm like, "Why not?" I was like, "If anybody's going to save a buck or two, it's gonna be the people that really need it, right?"
Yeah,
and so I used to sell Comcast, and I was very good at it, and I was very transparent on how I did it. The pitch was great. But in reality, I never really wanted to stay in sales, or at least I thought I didn't want to stay in sales. So I stayed comfortable with my salary paying job. And then I remember I just dropped off my motorcycle to the shop to get it tuned up. And my wife comes and picks me up, and she's got this sour look on her face, and it's a Friday afternoon. And I was like, what's eating you? Because I'm also in a bad mood that I got to drop off the bike and get it fine tuned. And she's like, I just found out Jill was in the 100K club. And yeah, she's in the 100K club. And I thought to myself, wait. Jill, your sister that we know took 5 vacations that we know of this past year was in the 100K club. And I thought to myself, I was like, wait, I'd never seen Jill work a day in her life. What is going on? And now being in real estate, I see her work a lot, and I see how she time manages, right? And how she enjoys herself. But back then I didn't see her work ever. So I'm like, wait, what am I doing wrong that my sister-in-law is making this much more than me? And she seems to be having so much more fun. And sure enough, Monday morning, I rolled over clear as day. And I looked at my wife and I said, hey, do you trust me? She's like, yeah, why? And I was like, I quit. And she's like, what do you mean you quit? I was like, I resigned. I sent off my resignation letter this morning. She's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to join your sister-in-law in real estate. And she's like, when? I was like, today. Like, we're going to knock this out today and we're going to get this going. And so what I ended up doing was I was on a budget, like most people are, right?
Right.
And so I went to Groupon, right? And I was like, oh, I'm going to buy a Groupon package and work this out. And it was probably one of the worst decisions I could have ever made because I'm not that type of online learner, right? Like, I like to ask questions. I like to be involved. I like to really like see things for myself firsthand. So I'm amazed that I did pass the real estate exam as quickly as I did. On the first try because I was mind blown. I got their day off and I was just like, oh, I'm failing this thing for sure. But luckily I did pass, but that's kind of how I got into all of this. And I love to actually say that I started learning actual real estate before I was licensed. So, you know, in that time period where I was taking my courses, I was also attending training at my sister-in-law's brokerage. She wasn't the broker, but where she was at, I went and they had trainings every Tuesday and Thursday, sometimes Wednesdays and Fridays as well. And I tell everybody, if you put food in front of me, right, if you buy me lunch, you can get me anywhere. And that's kind of what really drove me to, because I was like, we're on a budget, free lunches all the time. I was like, I could get used to this. And it was super beneficial because even though I wasn't licensed, I was learning everything I needed to know while I was getting licensed, right? So that was kind of how I got into it. Now, the next part is crazy, but that's realistically what got me into it. Was I thank my sister-in-law every day because of the financial freedom, I tell you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, man. I think you brought up an interesting point about her too, about when you were on the outside looking in, you know, it seemed like she had all this time in the world, and like, when did she ever work? And I think a lot of people get into this business thinking that, you know, I want to have control over my own schedule and I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And then you get in and you realize it doesn't work that way. And you can make it work, you know, and control your time, but you really have to, like you said, be really in control of your time management and really be at the top of your game with that and in your calendar. And that's a big struggle for me, you know, on a daily basis, you know, keeping my calendar in check and making sure I'm doing the things that I have to do and not get sidetracked, man. So absolutely.
I tell you, man, the scheduling is one of the craziest things, right? Because you'll listen to one coach and they're like, this is the schedule you have to keep. And then you listen to another coach and be like, that's crazy, because when are you actually going to fit in those emergencies and clients and all that other stuff, right? So I always tell people you need a healthy balance in between the two, and it's never going to be perfect realistically. We were just onboarding agent number 100 today, right, in our organization. And we were onboarding her this morning, and that was exactly the question she asked me. She said, so what's my schedule going to look like? Because I had talked to so-and-so and they were like wanting me there every day, this time to this time. And I was like, listen, I'm so busy with my schedule that if somebody told me that this is the schedule I had to keep, I'd lose it. I really would, because there's no way, because I've got clients yesterday. A listing appointment came out of nowhere, and it was a friend, and I had to go meet him yesterday, like right away for it, to help him out with the situation. And it was interesting because if I had my normal schedule, I wouldn't have been able to help him out, right? And who knows if he would have used me or called the next agent, right? Even though we're friends, that doesn't mean that necessarily he's going to work with me. So I luckily had flexibility in the schedule, worked him into it, and then, you know, I showed up home a little bit later than usual, but new listing in the books starting next week. So
nice, man. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think I touched on that a little bit with the time thing, because I know that was me getting started. That was a big change with time management, and something I had to get used to. But what do you think, like, when you first got started, your biggest, you know, struggle was being new into the business?
My biggest struggle was information, not having enough of it fast enough, right? And
Absolutely.
we had all this training, and we still say it to this day, because I tell the new agents, I'm like, listen, you're going to be drinking from a fire hose with the amount of education and training we're going to put you through, because the systems we have in place, it's the same systems that were used when I first started, right? Maybe a little bit more enhanced now with the virtualness of everything, but in reality, it was I couldn't get enough information realistically, and I had this little black book, and I've shown it to you. I've shown it to several people, right? It's my first year of real estate, and it's got all the secrets, every single class, all the information, everything broken down, written down, handwritten down, because I'm the type of person that when I learn something, I have to write it down as well, because then that's twice in my head, and I'll be less likely to forget it. And so training was the biggest thing. And I don't think I had enough education, right? Also, the fact that I'm not aggressive now, but there were things where I just kind of let people bulldoze me over beforehand. And now I kind of set expectations in advance, so that way I don't have to worry about it. But the biggest thing was realizing the difference between being licensed and knowing what you're doing in real estate, right? Because we both know
100%, man.
We both know that the state gives you a license and they basically teach you how to not get sued. And I'm assuming that that's the way it is across the country. I can only speak for Florida, but realistically, they boot you out and they're like, okay, go to real estate. And you're like, okay, well, how do I help clients fill out contracts? How do I do this?
Yeah.
How do I do that? So
absolutely.
So that was kind of the biggest things, was that I knew that going in, but luckily we had the right training. But I was like, well, I want to speed this up. How do I speed this up? And there's just some things that you can't speed up, right? I mean, there's only so many hours in a day. Everybody's got the same amount of hours. I might sleep a little bit less than everybody else, but that doesn't make a difference, right? So
yeah, absolutely. It's funny you bringing that about sleep. I think who is it? Like Gary V always says, man, like talking about, if you have a regular job and you're trying to grow something else and make a business, like, and you got to work 9 to 5, well, then you got to go home, put the wife and kid, have dinner, put them to bed, and then you got from 9 to 2 to grow your business. And I don't think, some people, they look at that like, oh, well, I got to get my sleep. Well, you can get sleep, but somebody else is going to be up grinding away. So, what do you want to do?
And he says it best, to be quite honest, exactly how you said it, exactly how Gary V says it. I'm part of his text community, so I'm always constantly getting his updates. But you're right, because I have clients or even other agents that will hit me up at 10, 11 p.m. and they know that I'm available at that time because, I already didn't sleep much. But on top of it, I want my downtime too. I'm a bit of a nerd, so I do play some video games, but my work hours are my work hours, right? So how am I going to enjoy myself? I'm a huge Call of Duty Warzone fan, and that's huge right now, right? Season 5 just came out yesterday, but I can't do that during normal hours because it's not responsible of me and my time distribution. So what do? I put it in the hours where nobody's really going to reach out to me, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., right? But absolutely, that's my choice. I mean, I can also turn around and work on my logo. I can work on my training or my processes for my agents at that hour too. So I'm just accustomed now that I go to bed at 2 or 1 or 2 p.m., depending on the day, and I'm back at it right early in the morning because fortunately, my body doesn't really need it to sleep that much, and it's also because of the regimen that I'm used to. But that's something that people have to get uncomfortable with. So,
yeah, most definitely, man, 100%. Transitioning from there, because you've had quite a bit of success over 2 years, in not only just from a transaction standpoint, but also from a team standpoint and everything. And how did you go from being a brand new agent, just trying to learn how to even do a deal or the business, to being a team lead of 100 agents in 2 years?
So this story is phenomenal because when I got into the business, I had left an industry where I was managing a few hundred people at a time, right? And I hated it. I really did. Personally, I hated it. It wasn't anything to do with the company. It was just managing 600 people at a time is not easy. It's a lot of babysitting. It's a lot of repetition and saying the same things over and over and over again and really putting it to the test. I was looking forward to real estate being like a me gig, right? I'm doing this for myself, my family. I'm the one that's in charge. It's my business. I'm the one responsible for myself at the end of the day. And then what happened was something incredible, was that because I started absorbing things so quickly and I have a tech and a marketing background, Gil and Bobby immediately started. These were my mentors. For those of you that don't know, Gil Ramos and Bobby Davidowitz, as well as Jillian Silk and Tom Semino, they're all some of the people that helped mold me, right? But they realized that I had something more of value to give, right? So they started asking me to teach classes, things such as like the Facebook cloning technique, right? And we went over that when we met, right?
That was huge for me, man. Yeah.
It's a technique that we use where we take your Facebook profile and we clone it into a business page. So now you have two separate entities. But the cool part is that for those of you agents that are new and fresh, Don will put the link later down the road in the comments. But it's a technique that some people will charge you for that I've put on YouTube that's free. And basically, whatever amount of friends you have on Facebook. So say you have 750 friends on Facebook, right? What it does is it clones it, and you get to pick what you want to clone. So that way you're not putting any of your personal stuff out there. But instead of inviting them like most people do, like to like your new business page, what it does is it automatically just transitions them. So all your friends turn into likes. Same thing with your followers and your friend requests. They turn into likes as well. And that way, if you have 750 friends, you're not starting from scratch and inviting everyone to jump into your new business venture, right? You're starting a page with 750 organic likes right away. I've even seen it so where we had a friend and colleague, Sharon, and she had 5,000 plus. She was maxed out on friends, and she had like 1,000 friend requests sitting in there. Nice. And this process for her, because she had so many, the normal turnaround time is like 24 to 48 hours for this to work. For her, it took 4 weeks for it to work. But when all was said and done, she had almost 7,000 likes on a business page. And I was just like, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's way more than what I've got. But those are the kinds of things that I was starting to teach, right? Because there are people out there that will charge you $1,000, $2,000, $3,500 to teach you the simple technique that you should go Google on your own. But obviously, you're going to need some guidance because you can only do that technique once, and if you mess it up, and you can't do it again, right? But so it's easier to watch a video on how to do it. But these are the things that I started teaching, and I enjoy helping others because Don, teaching you something, teaching Connie something, teaching Jamel something. That's not going to affect my circle, right? That's not going to affect my business by any means. All it does is help somebody out because you and I, we are the exceptions to this rule because not everybody's able to get to this point. But we didn't get here alone, and that's what most people don't see. Is we had a lot of help to get here. So I felt it was a responsibility because of how many people helped influence my success that I was like, you know what? Let me start adding value to other people. So Gil and Bobby started having me teach classes. And that's kind of where things started to spiral, right? I linked up with Andrew Brooks, who's one of my business partners. Bless his soul, he can put up with me because not a lot of people can. But he wanted to form a team. And we were with one brokerage at this point in time. And I was like, I really want to be a top producer. I love coaching. I love training. I left an industry where I don't want to babysit people. Andrew had just left an industry where he was babysitting people. And I was like, do we really want to go back to that? Like, is that something we want to do? And he was like, I think it's really beneficial. And then we ended up switching brokerages anyways, but the new brokerage and the model, it actually worked for us in a pretty heavy manner. And that's when I started getting interested in really helping this out because it started with just a few, right? So Andrew had already started trying to recruit some people and some people had followed me being like, hey, can we be on your team? And I was like, well, we're more like a family. We're not like a real estate team, right? And so that was kind of where things started to shift. And Todd and I were talking about it yesterday because he's like, well, how do you run your team? And I was like, well, it's more like a family. It's not really a team because we're not taking a split off of anybody's paychecks. We're not taking a cut off of any of it. And so for us, it expanded so much more quickly because we started with, I think it was like 6 of us, right? And we just onboarded number 100 today. So when you guys asked earlier this week and we were talking about it and it was in the email thread, I'd said 100 because I was expecting
like 40 or something in there. We're like way off.
You guys had 40 and I was just like, oh, that's a little off.
That's cute.
But the reality of it is it expanded and grew so quickly because of the value we were giving, right? Because most teams, you jump on a team and here's how it typically works. So for those of you that don't know how teams work, it typically works in a manner where somebody's feeding you a ton of leads, right? And their responsibility as a team leader is to make you hit 6 figures or more every year consistently. And what you're doing in turn is you're basically giving them a part of all your commission checks to help fund it. They're basically your piggy bank. They're a credit card and they're buying all these leads and generating all these leads for you and you're contributing back. So hopefully they make a profit, right? And that's how it typically works with a normal team. Right. However, I didn't want to be the piggy bank first and foremost and chance it on a few agents, right? But secondly, if you're on my team, Don, and you do a deal with your mom, I don't want a part of that paycheck, and that's kind of where the add value portion came from. And so our team immediately exploded because everyone's like, okay, well, we're getting all this education and we're getting all this stuff. Let's see how else we can amplify it. So we created a a portfolio and a Google Drive, right, is what we did. And so all the processes that I was using when it comes to checklists for listing appointments, or checklists for once under contract, or once we have the listing, what's the checklist? What's the next process for marketing and all these stuff? So we started creating so first we just started doing checklists. And then it got more in depth. We started doing presentations and trainings, like virtual trainings, and started saving the videos and all this stuff. And then it really started expanding. So we basically created this massive Google Drive of information. And it was great because it was basically everything I had in my head that I had already been utilizing, but down on paper so that anybody could replicate this. So that was a huge undertaking, because my wife will tell you it was probably one of the most difficult 3 months of our lives in real estate, right? Because I had taken the focus away and taking the foot off the gas pedal when it came to actually doing transactions, to be able to do something that was so much more epic in the long run, right? Because I knew it would help my agents in the long run. Plus it would help me, right? So anytime an agent had like a question, I'd reference a link. I'd send them a link to this checklist or this presentation. Go check this video out. Go do this, go do that. So it cost me a lot. It really did. Because even Gil at one point was just like, well, how many pendings do you have? And I was like, 2. And he's like, how many showings are you doing this week and next week? And I was like, none. And he's like, oof, that's going to be rough. And he was right. But in the long run, I look back now and they utilize that Google Drive. Our team and our organization, our family, they use that Google Drive like it's their lifeblood. I mean, the checklist, they follow it to a T, and it makes their lives easier. Things that they never would have thought of, like, oh, when I get a listing, make sure that I not only post it up on social media, but I actually create a listing in Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Because most people don't realize you can create a listing in Facebook for your house. And then after that, make sure that you're added to all your local community groups, so that when you post that listing, when you post it, you actually have the option to directly send it to each one of those groups. That's a process now that's automatic in the system, and people never would have thought of it. I mean, that's free leads right then and there. I just closed a deal a few months ago where the buyer actually came to me from that Facebook marketplace, which is ironic because it was somebody I already knew, but they had seen it multiple times because we're friends on Facebook. Right. And I worked both sides of the deal on that one, and everybody ended up happy. She ended up getting the house that she wanted. Seller got what he wanted. She got new AC. He maximized his profits because I cut him a discount because we were doing both sides. But it came from these processes that we created. So first and foremost, it took me these 3 months to build this Google Drive and set it up and get all these things going. After that was the execution of actually helping my teammates out, right? So, putting them through trainings, putting ourselves through more training. And Andrew and I were doing a great job until, we hit a certain point, because I as much social media as I can teach, I can't do certain things that like Sean Romano does, right?
Right.
And so ironically enough, Sean Romano had come back from a hiatus on his own, right? And he jumped back in and he was just like, I'm going to be a part of the power team. He didn't ask. He was just like, I'm going to be a leader of the power team. And I was just like, whoa, buddy. You don't just get to be a leader of the power team, right? And he's like, no, I'm going to be a leader. And I was just like, well, we're going to do a test trial run and blah, blah, blah. But this man
worked. The enthusiasm.
He worked his tail off, though. And I love that kind of enthusiasm. I really do. And so he worked his tail off, this man. And he's still working his tail off to this day. Today, he was doing headshots for one of our new agents. But these were kind of the things that we started building out with Sean, right? Because social media and video content, just like this video, right? I mean, this episode is going to be epic for anybody who's really listening and absorbing it, because these are the things you should put in play if you want to get to this level. Is adding value, but also making sure the video content is there. So he started adding a different flavor to it, right? So what we would do from time to time, we just did it last week, is we'll schedule a lunch and learn at a new build community, right? Sean will go with all the equipment with us, and then everybody will film a 15 to 20-second segment, right? And it's basically in the kitchen or walking into the house, and it's real simple. We coach you guys through it, and we basically tell them to say this. It's like, hey, folks, it's Dan Rojas here with the Power Team, brokered by so-and-so. And today we're at Donavilla, and I wanted to take you around and show you all these new, beautiful, new construction townhomes where every single unit has an individual pool. Let's go take a look.
Right.
And then right then, that's the 15, 20 seconds. It doesn't take a lot. And it might take you like a few tries, but we coach our agents through that. And then Sean does the magic, right? The magic behind the scenes. He does the B-roll that you were talking about earlier from going around town. So he does the B-roll from the community, showcasing the pool, showcasing the features, all this stuff. He puts the little taglines on there, the little fifth thirds or the thirds down below that says like, oh, this is how much for this square footage with a pool and all this stuff. And he does the magic. And it takes him a lot of time, to be quite honest. But he'll pump out 25 videos in a matter of 24 to 48 hours, because what people don't realize is that the only thing that really changes is the first 15 to 20 seconds per video, right? Because it's each agent. The rest of it is all what we call evergreen videos. So the rest of it's all the B-roll footage that he never has to change. So all he has to do is swap out the name of the person and their little snippet from once he's done with the whole evergreen portion of it. But these are the things that we started adding, and people started catching on. And then, he would take it to a further degree of making the coffees for closers. He actually wrote, produced, and mastered the track for Coffees for Closers, which is an amazing rap song that he made with Bobby Davidowitz and Jen DeVivo. And then he was like, you know what? We're going to do a music video. And I was like, I mean, you're going extreme, Sean. But it worked. I mean, the video's got over, I think it's about to crack 20,000 views, but it's a real estate rap video, and that trends. And so that attracts more people. So what ended up occurring was a few things. We unintentionally built a mega team by just adding value, right? So we started providing things for them that nobody else was thinking about providing. Everyone thinks the same route. Everyone says leads, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, come to me, I'll feed you leads. That's cool. But we want to grow them for life. I'm not just trying to grow them for this year. I want them to grow on their own. I want them to build their own teams. I want them to be leaders. So we started giving them stuff that was epic. These videos that they can use anywhere and everywhere that attracts not just clients, but other agents as well. And then we start training them on the adding value portion where it's just automatic across the board. So that's kind of how we transitioned all the way through and how it came to be. But now it's on a master scale, right? Because now we're purposefully adding value to other people's lives to have them come and join us and join our family and grow even more. And that's how we got to 100 agents. And we actually, I know it says in just 2 years, but it's in just 2 years that I did real estate. But this team has only been built over 1 year. 100 agents in 1 year. And all it did was it's not something that anybody can do on their own. I know some people will say that you can do it on your own. And some people will say they'll pound their chest saying, oh, I hit this number by myself. But if you ask them their processes, it's like, oh, well, I schedule the meetings and I put them in front of so-and-so. And so, okay, well, that's not just you by yourself. That's you just making the phone calls and knocking it out. Somebody else helping the pitch portion of it, right? But in reality, it takes a village. It does. I never would have been able to get here if it wasn't for everybody along the way, and again, Jillian Silk is my hero to this day and has helped me out so much when it comes down to it. And so I'm thankful for her, but it's everybody, I wouldn't be here without Andrew. I wouldn't be here without Sean and this whole setup and how it all functions and how it runs so smoothly. And now our agents are now becoming leaders. So we've got Julie Marr, who's a phenom. I mean, I call myself the phenom. Some other people would call me that. That's kind of where I got the name from. But this girl is the definition of hustle. She really, truly is.
I heard your podcast episode with her a couple weeks ago with the number of it was something crazy, like 20 or 30 pendings or something in a month.
Yep. So she put, after about a month into coronavirus, this woman put 27 pending during coronavirus. And the crazy part is that pending number hasn't changed. She's had 6 or 7 closings since we had that podcast, but her pending number hasn't changed because she's still at it every day in and day out. And the cool part is now she's got her own team, right? So she's got the deal makers with Mava, right? And they're adamant about adding value. So they're doing the exact same thing. Every Friday, they have a team meeting at 10 a.m. and it's about an hour and a half. And they pick out these topics that they go over things. And then they ask the rest of their agents, like, okay, individually, what are you working on? What are you working on? What are you working on? And how can I help you? Like, what problems are you running into? So they're taking it to the next level, right? And so that's kind of how this is really expanding, is by having our agents now become leaders. And we did it in a few different formats. So if you guys really want to grow this, you have to put a few things in place. So first and foremost, you have to come from a standpoint of adding value without asking for anything. And I got a class coming up on that. That's going to be huge to teach you guys how to get clients too, on how to get clients by just adding value and not asking for anything. But if you really want to grow a mega team like this, you have to give value without conditions. There's 0 conditions. You just have to give it. Then the next thing is setting up processes. Well, what tools am I giving them? What checklists are they going to be using? How is this going to be organized, right? So you got to get your structure organized. And then the support system, because one person alone cannot create an entire support system for 100 agents or 1,000 agents or 2,000 agents. You look at Jake Kinder, Mike Reese, and Albie Stasik. They have NAEA for all of their agents and all of us as well, right? And it's a coaching program, and they basically did what I did. All they did was realistically do what I did on a grander form. And they're still creating new content all day, every day for their agents. They don't even sell anymore. They just have their agents sell. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think some of the biggest, some of the big things I just took away from everything that you said that I definitely want to point out, because you said it over and over too, is the adding value, just and adding value to other agents, adding value to the client or the customer, the people that we're doing business with, and everything, and just coming from that spirit of contribution and everything, and knowing that the more you help people get the things that they want, you're going to ultimately get what you want by helping other people get what they want. And that's how, I've approached it. And like, I'm super thankful that I got connected with you guys, you and Todd and everybody within that organization from the very beginning, because I was on my own at first, trying to do everything on my own. And I learned really quickly how hard that was, especially being brand new. And then just learning how to leverage other people's skill sets, their strengths and everything, and let them do the things that maybe you don't have the time to do, or maybe it's just not your strong suit, because everybody's got different, strengths and weaknesses. And then the other thing too was systems and processes, man. Those two words have become such a large part of my vocabulary in so many different, aspects of this business. And just because, like now, like you said, you had to take a few months to work on that and build it out, and it cost you some transactions during those 3 months. But now that it's in place, I'm sure that has to, help you so much more with time management, because now you're not answering these individual questions. And it's one of those things where, it might keep you on that straight path for a little while, but as soon as you get everything ready to go, like, you're just going to skyrocket back up. So that's huge. Taking the time to work on your business, not just in your business. And I think
Correct.
That's a hard thing for some people.
Correct. And that organization, the way you have to lay that out is basically, you have to look at it as like, okay, if somebody who's coming in doesn't know anything about how to do real estate, that's the standpoint you have to look at it from, because a lot of us will skip steps because we're just assuming that somebody knows something. So you literally have to take it down to the basics and break it down. And that's where you have to start for your organization and your processes.
Absolutely, man. So what, as far as like social media goes, because I know you're a big tech guy, and I'm always seeing what you're doing and getting ideas. And I'm like, oh man, I got to find out what he's using, because I need to use that too. So, yep. and I have it. I use some stuff now that came recommended by you. So like, what do you think like are the top, 2 or 3 apps that you definitely, or that you're using, or that every agent should have right now while they're out there, trying to make that presence known on social media?
So the one thing I wouldn't say that there's necessarily like a defined app, right? Because what Gil said it best, and I couldn't have put it better. He says, he always asks this every now and then to a group of new agents. He says, do you guys know what the number one app is? Do you know what the number one social media is? And everybody starts yelling out random social media. Some people are like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and whatever. And he laughs, and I laugh because I know what his catch is. He says, no, it's whatever social media you use best.
Yeah,
and that's what that's all it is. Because the thing is, if you are already in a platform, there's no reason to switch to another one unless you have the opportunity and you're capable of doing it, right? TikTok's huge right now. We don't know if it's staying, if it's going. I'm assuming it's staying because Microsoft's buying it out. But even then, it's like, how do you generate leads from TikTok realistically, right? So you got to find a niche there too. But my biggest focus is Instagram and Facebook, right? But the biggest thing is that all my stuff is tied together, all of it. So if I post on Instagram stories, I have it set up to where it automatically goes to my Facebook stories as well. If I post on Instagram, it automatically goes to my Facebook page, and It goes to my Twitter. If I just post something on my Facebook page, it also automatically just goes to my Twitter, because some things I want to post on Facebook and I know they won't do well on Instagram, because like Instagram has limitations on videos and stuff like that. So sometimes I post these videos that are 33, 40 minutes long. That's not going to fly on Instagram, right? So it's whatever social media you use best, but make sure that you integrate it all. And I'm going to tell you something that most people don't realize is brand everything one way, right? Because that's going to define who you are, and it's going to make things easier and more searchable to find you, right? The biggest hurdle is, how do people find you on social media, right? Everyone's always like, oh, follow me on this or follow me on that. You need to have the same brand all the way through, and you need to stick with it and stop moving it around, right? Because if you look down on the screen, I've got at the Dan Rojas. That is all I have to tell somebody. Oh, you want to find me? Go look up the Dan Rojas, all one word.
Yep.
And they're like, what? I'm like, go punch it into Google and see what comes up. And if they don't, I'm just like, I'll tell them, go to thedanrojas.com. And they're like, what? I happened to me the other day. I was picking up some stuff from an auction for a different business that we were running. And this lady was like, well, how do I get a hold of you? I was like, go to thedanrojas.com and you can find me there because it has all my links for everything. Sure enough, within an hour, she had already reached out to me about something. And I was like, perfect. So you got to brand it one way, and that's huge. And that's the biggest thing. Whatever social media app you're using, just use it more and target your audience. But going back to the adding value part, you got to not be pitchy and selly. And especially as agents, man, we're starting to sound more and more and more like car salesmen. And it's, I look at some people's posts or their paid sponsored ads and I'm like, is that for real? I'm like, that can't be it. It's like, oh, contact me for all your needs. Okay. I'm like, how is that adding value? Like they probably have a relative that could handle all their real estate needs. Like you got to give them a proposition that they cannot walk away from. And so adding the value portion is really what it is. You have to think of in terms of like, would I actually get my own services? Would I be my own client? And that's how you have to treat your social media. And it's one of those things that so many people just don't get. And you can tell them 1,000 times. Some people will always do the whole, oh, click here for more info. Well, no one's going to click it. They know what's going to happen the second they click that, right? But if you post something to the means of like, oh, you're never going to believe the kitchen that's inside this house. Well, everyone at that point is like, well, what's this kitchen look like? Then they're going to click, right? Yeah. But you got to come from a non-selly standpoint. And, I'm seeing a lot of people trained the wrong way. And it's because a lot of these coaches that are taking all these agents' money and teaching them the wrong things. I'm like, stop listening and stop paying these coaches. Like they don't even practice real estate. Like listen to guys like Don, listen to guys like Todd, listen to these people that are going through it day in and day out. Todd Schroth has some of the best organic referral business. He's running at like 93% now, referral business. It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's super impressive. I'll tell you a funny story about him. When we partnered up and everything, he's like, "Hey, so how'd you find me, or how'd you hear about me?" I said, "You're on my refrigerator." He's like, "How'd you get my phone number?" I said, "It's on my refrigerator." That's how.
Yep. And honestly, but that's the thing. Like every agents, I'm going to tell you this right now. The last thing you can do is be that selly, annoying agent. I'm going to tell you right now. I had some clients a few months ago. They had originally posted on a group here in Central Florida asking for the best recommendations for realtors, and they didn't want the realtors tagging themselves. So my name came up a few times from a few people that referred me, and I was proactive about it. I didn't sit back. I understood what she meant. She didn't want just random realtors putting their names out there. So what I did was really simple. I friend requested her and I sent her one message and one message only. And I said, hey, Kayla, I know you're probably getting bombarded by a ton of realtors right now because they all want your business. So I'm just going to make this plain and simple. I'd love to assist you and sit down with you and chat with you about your real estate goals and see how I can get you there. Here's a link to my information if you want to chat some more. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving. Because it was last year during Thanksgiving. I wasn't going to bother her anymore. Left it. That was it. 2 or 3 months later, she came back and she's like, hey, so, we weren't ready then, but we are now because we were renovating our master bathroom and we just wanted to thank you. And I was like, thank me for what? We haven't even met yet. And she's just like, well, thank you for not being like the other agents. And I was like, oh, well, tell me more about that. What happened there? And she's just like, everyone blew us up and everyone was just like nagging us and pushing us and pressuring us. And we need somebody who's going to be more patient with us because we have 2 kids. And we have specific wants and needs and areas that we want to look at. And so this might take some time, but we also want to coordinate the sale of our house as well. So because some people that I'm friends with referred me, and because I wasn't selling and pitchy, they went with me. And we moved somewhere around just over $500,000 with them in volume. And that might not sound like a lot for some parts of the country because, California, that's like half of a condo. But here in Central Florida, the average price point is like 230, 244 is like the average price point for the homes here in Orlando. So to put some perspective, that's a pretty hefty amount. And in reality, it wouldn't have come if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to give value and that was it. And same thing happened a few weeks ago. Somebody on my Facebook, I watch my Facebook and my social media a lot because I want to give value. If somebody needs a painter, I've got you. If somebody needs a plumber, I got you. An electrician, I got you. You need a baker, I got an amazing one. Mary Tiffany in Conway is amazing. And she's one of the best bakers I know. And that's the point, is that I just want to help people out, and people can smell the difference between when you want to help them or when you're out to get something from them from a mile away nowadays. Everyone's used to the wholesaling gimmicks. And so a friend of mine posted on Facebook. He's used other realtors before I was in the industry. He's used other realtors to help buy and sell all his properties. He sold a few in the last decade. And so he had posted up something on Facebook saying like, oh, real estate professionals, what do you use for home valuations? And I was like, oh, he's probably getting ready to sell his home. I didn't jump in because, again, being respectful, I was like, he's probably going to use another realtor anyways. I was like, he's already got plenty of friends. Like, I'm on the last of the list. So didn't really say anything then. And the next week he posted asking about, real estate professionals, I need your help again. Who are the best photographers you use? And I was like, well, I got you on that one. I can definitely help you there. And so I didn't comment. I actually sent him a personalized text because I wanted to be personal about it. I was like, dude, I want to add value to this guy's life. And I didn't ask for anything. All I did was I said, hey, you got to use my guy. Here's his info. Shoot him a text, shoot him a call. You won't be disappointed. That was it. I didn't say, hey, when are you listing your house? I didn't say, hey, can we talk? Can we sit down? Can I earn your business? I didn't say any of that. I just said, here's value, take it or leave it. I'm good. I just want to help you out. That's it. Yeah. I kid you not, within 45 seconds, he called me. He's like, hey, if I give you an address, can you maybe give me an estimate value of what you think it's worth? And I was like, yeah, sure thing. And he was like, just like that. And I was like, yeah, just like that. I can help you out. And he's like, okay. So he sent me the address and I look it up. I did my little CMA real quick. I comped it out and I found the value. I was like, it's actually priced appropriately. I was like, so I think that you could probably get it for this much though, because it's been on the market for this long. And he's just like, you're still not going to ask me? I was like, ask you what? He's like, well, I mean, obviously we want to go look at the property and everything like that. Can you schedule that too? I was like, sure. And I was like, I never would have asked you for the business because I just assumed that you had other people. I was like, I'm just here to add value. I wasn't really trying to get anything out of it. I really wasn't. And within 2 weeks, we had him under contract for that house and we had his house under contract, like listed and sold. And all because it's just adding value. I don't want to be a selly person, and there are some people that do really well. I know some agents that are phenomenal. They make 250 phone calls a day. I'm not that guy. Yeah. I can't sit there and knock out 250 calls a day. I like people. I want to help people. And that's where I come from a standpoint of helping. And that's it. If take it or leave it, if you want my help, cool. If not, I'm not going to be hurt by it. As Bobby says, I didn't lose a deal because I didn't have that deal to begin with, but at least I gave it an opportunity to see if it worked out. Yeah. And so that's kind of the standpoint that we take.
I think, yeah, man, 100%. And even me, like, because I am that guy that'll make 200 phone calls in a day and, to talk to, 10, 12 people. But even when I'm doing that, man, I can't say how many people I've spoken to that, I don't even know if it's ever even going to turn into anything. It might not even be a possibility, but just bringing that value to them. If they need help with something, maybe they need a contact for a certain service or a contractor. Yeah, I'm more than happy to help you.
See, but you're also taking it from a standpoint of adding value. Like you'll make 200, 250 calls a day, but you're not calling them being like, hey, you ready to list or buy or sell?
Right. Yeah. How can I help you? Absolutely.
You're taking the Ricky Carruth approach, right?
Absolutely.
That's what Ricky says. He coaches everybody. He tells them, he's like, listen, stop calling with an intent to get something out of it and gain something. He's like, call them and have a real conversation and say, hey, my name is Ricky. I'm a realtor in the area, and I'm just calling to see how you're doing. I'm calling to see if there's anything I can help you with, real estate or not. And maybe there's somebody else that that might need some help with something. And that's it. And that's pretty much the premise of his coaching, but that's exactly what you're doing too. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 100, man. And, with the I just lost my whole train of thought, but with the, getting out there and just talking with people and that adding value and everything when you're doing that. And what I have found is that, on social media, especially, the biggest things that I found is like you were just talking about, you can't be all the time, like, Dan Rojas, the realtor, Dan Rojas, the realtor. Hey, if you're thinking about buying or selling, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like when I put a home up that I just sold, I get 10, 12 likes, maybe a comment if I'm lucky. I put a photo up of my daughter and my dog. Yeah, 70, 80 likes, man. Yep. But it's that good mix of, of some of your personal life, some things that you're interested in, and then some real estate. Just a good mix. And the other thing with that too is also the consistency. Posting. How many times should you be posting every day? Once? No, you should be posting 3 or 4 times a day, every day. So get out there, and like you said, if it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, like whatever it is, just do it right, do it every day, do it consistently.
Consistency
that's huge.
is key. And like you said, you got to be more real. I was telling that to an agent the other day, and I told her, I said, hey, you've been posting a lot of real estate stuff lately. She's like, yeah, I'm not really getting a lot of traction. I was like, all right. So I said, do me a favor, because I saw this post of yours the other day. I said, pull up this post, and it was a real estate post. And I was like, how many likes did you get on that? She got 3. And she's like, I don't know why I got 0 engagement of that. I was like, okay, now scroll down a little bit further. I stopped right there. And she's like, well, this is a picture of my son. And I was like, yeah, I know. Open the picture and show me how many likes you got on that. And she had like 85 likes on it. I was like, you see the difference? People care about you, and you need to be more real. I was like, sprinkle in some real estate every now and then. That's fine. They know you do real estate. Put up your solds. I'm not telling you to not put those up. Keep putting them up, but you got to be more consistent when it comes to being real with people, because that's what they want to see, and that's what's going to keep you top of mind. If you have something to celebrate for someone, like I post a lot of happy birthday stuff because I like celebrating other people's stuff, right? So I like celebrating our agents' happy birthday. So we have graphics that we do for that. When they cap, we have a graphic for that. When they icon, we have a graphic for that. When they do their first deal, we have an icon, a graphic for that. We have those graphics because I enjoy celebrating other people's stuff. Get used to it. Get up in the morning. Facebook does all the hard work for you. Get up in the morning and check your Facebook, and it'll show you the birthdays for the day. Go through and say happy birthday to all those people. You never know what kind of spark you're going to ignite by doing that, because you're making a connection. You got to be real.
100%, man. Absolutely. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on today and, giving us some insight into your business and how, your success and everything. It's definitely been an inspiration for me and everything. And what I've been able to do, I wouldn't be able to achieve what I've done, without some help from you along the way as well. And I think that's what's made, where, me and you are part of the same, brokerage and everything. And just that whole environment and atmosphere with everybody, just bringing that value to not just the clients, but also other agents as well. Because in my mind, there's more than enough business to go around in Central Florida.
Plenty.
And the more I can help other people, that's just going to make me better too. And then the other way I look at it too, because I think some people are always afraid to tell people what they're doing or share with people what they're doing. I'll gladly tell people what I'm doing, because a lot of times I know that the majority of people aren't going to do what I do anyways, not on a consistent basis. You know what I mean? So it's like, by all means, like, let me help you. And if it works out, awesome. But you might figure out that you don't want that life either. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's true, because we all have different ways that we approach things. Like you can make those calls. I can't. And that's not a downside or an upside. It's just the way that we do things, right? Everybody's got their own special magic to them, and they approach things differently. That's all it is. And everybody's just got to figure out that happy medium. But the only way to get there is to surround yourself with people that have different views, right? We all share our best practices on purpose because we don't know who else it's going to help. And that's really the key there, is that you can't do it just by one-on-one. You can't do it with just one coach. It's got to be multiple people, because you really got to surround yourself with different opportunities to see how it all works.
Absolutely. So, well, man, hey, I appreciate it. You coming on. Definitely enjoy talking to you. Always do. And for everybody else, I hope you guys got something out of this. If you have any questions, like I said, drop them in the comments. You can send us a direct message. Don't forget to like it, share it, ring that notification bell on and subscribe button on YouTube. And until next time, we will see you guys later. Thanks, Dan.